This is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you. I'm yet on another field trip. We're here at Farm Girl Nursery here in Novato, California, and we're here for one very important reason, to let you guys know that you can go from zero to hero in no time flat. That's actually, I think, the song in a Disney movie called Hercules. But anyways, we're not going to talk about the Hercules movie by Disney. But what we are going to talk about is a gardener here that we're going to meet today who started the nursery that literally went from, this was a horse track or, nothing, and planted things out and has a nice luscious garden in only 6 months. So I want you guys to know that you guys could go from zero to be a full-fledged gardener in 6 months, and it doesn't take a lot. She has no prior training, no prior experience, and she has a wonderful garden growing on now. But of course, she has a few tricks up her sleeve that I'm going to share with you guys today. So in today's episode, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and show you her garden and maybe a few of the other things going on here. She actually has some animals. She actually does a race horse rescue, which means race horses that are past their prime for racing, they come here and they can lead out a nice, happy life after their usefulness as a racehorse is over. In addition, she has pigs and chickens and goats, and this would be a wonderful place to take kids on literally a field trip to see and get back to nature. So they are only open at present time Wednesdays and Saturdays, like 10 to 4. And at the end of the video, we'll mention their contact details so you can learn more about the farm. In any case, let's go into the farm and show you guys what's growing on. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the garden here. And once again, this was a flat area with like nothing here just 6 months ago. And if she could go from zero to hero or zero to a garden in 6 months, so can you. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to go inside. I'll tour you around some of the things that are growing on inside. And then maybe even at the end, we'll get to interview her and ask her some of her tips and secrets so that you can grow some food and grow a lush, beautiful garden like this as well. Now we're here in the garden, and you can see here there's just many pathways. The pathways are all made with like basically wood chips that were dumped here for free. So you really don't have to spend a lot of money to make your garden look nice. Just get some free wood chips that many landscapers or tree trimmers would probably just like to get rid of and dump on your property at no cost to you. In addition, some of the areas she has defined out, so her little beds that aren't necessarily raised, although some are using primarily horse manure here from her farm, and also some topsoil that she did bring in. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to look around at some of the different areas and just show some of the plants that she has growing on today. Now we're in her garden. You can see here she has some little raised beds made out of like 2x4. She says she actually recycled or reused wood pallets and took them apart to build some of these guys right here. And they're just raised up just a few inches off the ground. She has it filled up, and she has lots of tomatoes planted out, about 3 plants. She has some small cages. And so a lot of things are in little beds like this, and some things are just in big beds that aren't actually defined. But that's not a problem if you don't have the edges. You don't need the edges, just bound up some soil and you could start growing. In addition, maybe she's a viewer of my show and she's actually growing her mint instead of the raised bed or in one of the beds, she has it in a container. And this is the best way, in my opinion, to grow mint so that it doesn't take over and spread. And this is some beautiful and delicious chocolate mint that actually tastes really good too. Here's just yet another bed, and as you can see, she has the pathway, and then just right on the other side of the pathway, she basically has a line, and then the bed starts. And in this bed, she has things like onions and lettuce and tomatoes and some squash. And one of the cool things she's using is she's growing vertically so that things don't sprawl. She's growing it vertically, and what she's using is some bamboo. Actually, off her property, she has some bamboo plants that she harvests the timber from. And then she's using some accordion bamboo trellising that she actually purchased locally. I like those a lot. Actually, I use those. I think they're a great way for a trellis, and they're adjustable. So you could fold them out as wide as you need, then they get kind of like shorter, or you could fold them up so that they're not as long and then they're taller. So that's a really cool item to use if you can find it in your local area. One of the things that I really like in this garden is that she has interplanted flowers like almost on the outside of every raised bed, whether they're edible or just ornamental ones. She has marigolds in several places, and right here she has some beautiful nasturtiums actually on both sides of me. And she has several different varieties and colors of nasturtiums, and I want to remind you guys that on the nasturtiums, definitely the flowers are totally edible. They contain a little bit of pollen. Pollen's actually really rich in protein. and the flowers have some nice pigments in there. They have a nice peppery flavor as well. In addition, the nasturtium leaves, or what I would call lily pads, these guys are also edible, although if you eat them, you can just ramp up that heat level by a factor of 10 over the flowers. It's really hot and spicy, so if you don't have hot peppers, tear off some nasturtium leaves, put in your salad or in the food you're preparing, and be prepared for a nice kick. Another thing she's doing here that I like a lot is that she's making use of things that would normally be discarded to grow more food. And here's just one example in like a 55-gallon plastic drum. She's cut it down and she's growing potatoes in here. And I think that's really a good use for a plastic drum. You could actually leave the bottom on, or more intelligently, for something like potatoes, I would actually just make a cylinder and use the center of the barrel. So actually out of the barrel, you could probably get like 3 containers. The bottom half with the bottom on it, of course, pop some holes in there. The top half you could flip upside down, pop some holes in there, and then the middle section would just be a tube. Now for growing potatoes, I'd actually just put the tube on the ground and fill it up with the soil and the potatoes, seed potatoes, and grow. And when you're ready to harvest, you're just gonna lift the tube up and all the potatoes are gonna fall out. So that's definitely a really good use for these old 55-gallon plastic drums. Even metal drums you could use to grow some food in. Actually, let's take a look at some of those next. Here's yet another 55-gallon drum that was actually cut in half and then made into like a feeder for like horses. And now maybe that's not being used for that anymore, but you can literally just fill that up and plant some things in there. She got some herbs in one side, and it looks like she's pulling up some potatoes in the other, and here's some of those potatoes right there. And so I want to encourage you guys to always look for items that you can reuse in your garden. Basically, anything that will hold some soil, you could pop some holes in, you can grow in. Every time I visit a new farm or a new place, I always learn something new, and the thing that I learned this time that made the trip entirely worth it is this right here. You're like saying, hey John, that just looks like a pot, you know, with the burlap sack around it. Well, yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. So instead of having, you know, just a standard nursery pot that doesn't look so decorative, by taking a standard burlap sack, normally that coffee gets shipped in, that many coffee houses and places that roast coffee end up with all these burlap sacks that they need to do something with, that they may sell you for cheap or even give to you for free. You could take that and make a planter that looks nice, you know, for your place. And in this one, it looks like she just stuck some bamboo, she tied it together, and she's growing some pole beans up it. And next, let me go ahead and show you guys how to do that. Real simple, real easy. You're just gonna go ahead and get a burlap sack, and I like all the ones that have, you know, different sayings on them and whatnot. It makes it look authentic. And then basically just take the pot. We got a 15-gallon nursery pot here, and gonna just tuck this in just like that, and tuck that right down in there. Fill it up with dirt, and you're ready to plant, and check it out. That looks a lot nicer than just the standard black pot now, doesn't it? Another thing she's doing that's really smart is she is maximizing the use of her growing space. As you can see here, this is basically the fencing around her little gardening area. And this is just a standard welded wire fence, and up this, she's growing one of my favorites, snow peas. They definitely taste good too. Snow peas will climb up the welded wire fence, no problem. And as you can see in the background, there's tons of peas on there that are ripe for the picking. I always encourage you guys to actually use all the available space you have, including the fences that surround your garden, to grow things up vertically, because if you're not, you're just wasting space. To even maximize the space further, down at the bottom, she has some flowers planted too that are gonna soon be sprouting and look really nice too. So this is almost like stacking functions. Here in the garden, even an old fertilizer spreader has its purpose, and the purpose has now been repurposed to grow some plants in. Looks like she has some edible flowers and some other edibles in here, along with some decorative flowers. So I've really enjoyed checking out her garden, but now we're in for the special treat. We're gonna speak with Lisa, who brought all this together, who is truly the hero in my eyes. I mean, if she could go from 0 to hero, or 0 to a garden in 6 months flat, so can you. So let's talk with her next to learn some of her secrets. Now we're with Lisa from Farm Girl Nursery. And Lisa, the question I want to ask you is, what are your secrets to grow a garden literally in 6 months?
You know, there are no secrets, and that's really the honest to God truth. Just plant it. And that's what I did was, let's just experiment. I call it my experiment. Let's just put stuff in the ground and see what happens. I started everything from seed, and some things took off. Actually, most everything took off. But it's just one big experiment. So don't be afraid of anything. Just dig in and do it.
Wow, that's great. So what's your analogy for like growing a garden?
Well, okay, here it is, guys. My son, when he gets a haircut, he never wants a haircut. And I said, don't worry about it. It will grow back. It's the same thing with plants. Maybe one plant's not going to make it, or you cut a rose back too much. It's okay, because it's going to grow back. And if it dies, plant another. So it's really pretty simple. Don't take it too seriously.
And if you're an old guy and don't have any hair anymore, just go for the Bosley treatment. Then it will grow back. All right, Lisa. So what was your inspiration or motivation to grow a garden? I mean, in 6 months ago, that was just a lot with nothing there, right? A horse track or whatever. And now it's full. And yeah, it takes an incredible amount of work. Why did you do it all?
I see the obesity problem in kids today and children. I love farmers markets. I think farmers markets are the coolest thing. Kids can go and pick up their fresh food. But the thing that was lacking in that is that they don't know where it comes from. They see the strawberries and they see the carrots, but they have a vested interest when they come here and they pull a carrot out of the ground, or they pick a pea, they open the pea pod. They want to eat it, and they have a vested interest in that plant, in that product, in that food. And so, I want to inspire one person at a time to go out there and start their own garden. You don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of space. You don't need a lot of knowledge. And again, it's all an experiment.
Wow, that's great. I would definitely agree. And besides just inspiring kids, when you grow it yourself, you also have a vested interest too. So hopefully you guys are going to be growing your food and also eating it for dinner. I'm proud to say last night my dinner, except for the macadamia nuts, which are from a farm in Hawaii, everything I ate for dinner last night came out of my garden, including my strawberries and tomatoes and my greens.
Love it.
Awesome.
That's what I try to do too. Breakfast was strawberries, peas, and some eggs. So when you stay home, you don't even need to go anywhere.
You don't even need to go anywhere for food. Isn't that a novel idea? Didn't they do that like 200 years ago?
Yeah.
There weren't stores.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
Why don't we get back to that?
Another question I have for you, Lisa, is that I was just up in your garden showing my viewers your garden, and you reuse a lot of things that are in your garden. So why are you so big into reusing and recycling and things like that?
I think, John, it's a good question. I think so many people throw so much away these days, more and more and more, and I look at something before I would ever think to throw it out, and how can I use it? What can I turn it into? Can it be a planter? Can it be something to store things in? And it's kind of exciting when you could take something that someone else has discarded or you're about to discard and turn it into a useful thing. And it's especially fun in the garden.
So what's an example in your garden that you turn extra branches and things into something useful?
Oh my God, you want one?
How about a 3? A couple.
I think you showed up there, I use horse troughs, I use the plastic containers, the 15-gallon containers. I use all my horse manure. That's the staple for all the soil. I try to implement, the pallets. I cut those up and use them. We use on the inside of the shop. We have burlap walls. I mean, stuff that most people, I think, would think it's useless, and I try to find uses for it, and I get a kick out of that. It's really fun.
I think that's another thing that really makes Lisa here successful, is that she has a childlike mind, kind of like I do. You always want to try to experiment and see what you could do and just see if it's going to work or not. Because if it doesn't work, no big deal. You're not really out much. And then just start over and try again. But the big problem I see with gardeners, I have brown thumbs, I can't do it. And guess what? You foiled yourself before you started with that kind of attitude. So, you want to have a positive attitude, the I can attitude. And remember, there's always Bosley to regrow your hair. Lisa, so I've had a great time here. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you and find out your services and what you guys do here, how would they get a hold of you, and what do you guys do here?
We do a little of everything. Farm Girl Nursery on Facebook. You can also get a hold of me by calling me 415-730-6917. And we're located in Novato. I think you probably said that, but we do a little of everything here. It'll eventually be a U-pick garden. Right now it's a Lisa pick. But we try to have the fruits and vegetables. I'd like to have it all season long. And I'd love for families to come in, maybe grab a basket, go and pick some tomatoes, some lettuce, some beans, some zucchini, whatever we've got in season. We've also got a kids camp that I'm putting together for this summer, or just a one-day camp to educate kids about the garden. We sell seeds, we sell seedlings, we sell garden art. We've got some knick-knacky art stuff up there in the barn. But it's really like taking it all the way back to it's an experiment, and we're just going to go along and see how it goes. But people right now are really loving it and loving the animals.
Awesome. Yeah, so I didn't get to cover the horses and some of the pigs and the chickens and the goats and all kinds of animals here. I've had an amazingly fun visit, and would encourage you guys to come out and just to see her garden, hang out with her. She's definitely a cool person, and she has a lot of cool things happening. And especially if you got kids, you want to bring them out to give them that farm experience in the city. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, this is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and keep on growing.